Welcome to solverfy.
All right, guys, we're doing problem 4 of chapter 18 in Chemistry Essential Science. So you're working with an artist who has been commissioned to make a sculpture for a big city in eastern United States. The artist is wondering what material they used to make her sculpture because she's heard the acid rain in the eastern United States might destroy it over time. He takes samples of granite, marble, bronze, and other materials and placed them outdoors for a long time in the big city. You periodically examine the appearance and measure the mass of the samples. What observations could lead you to conclude one or more of the materials are well suited for the sculpture? So, with environmental exposure to the material, the appearance and the mass of the material are indicators of physical and chemical changes. Like, for example, the Statue of Liberty is made out of copper. And as you probably know, copper is not naturally green. Over time, the statue eventually turned green because the copper was interacting with the air, was interacting with the water. Water is interacting with all these different molecules, and that was causing changes to the structure. Oh, sure, it's more close to like a malachite structure. Oh, sure, and also if you were is if you were if you're reacting with things in the air, then if your statue decays, the mass is going to decrease, and if it's reacting with your statue, like let's say you make a statue of copper, it reacts with oxygen to form copper oxide, then your mass of your statue is going to increase. So the appearance and mass as for the material are unchanged. The material is well suited for the sculpture because chemical and physical changes do not affect the material. Like if you just leave gold out over time, its appearance is going to look the same, and its mass isn't changing because it's unreactive. So change in the color and texture on the surface of the material indicate that a chemical reaction is occurring. The decrease in mass indicates some of the material was lost through chemical reaction or physical change. An increase in mass indicates corrosion, like you're forming a salt. So if the mass is unchanged, the materials unaffected to chemical and physical changes are suitable for the sculpture. So B, what chemical processes or changes is or are most likely responsible for observed changes is or are responsible for observed changes in the material? So there are a lot of different things that can affect that. At most notably, your statue, the materials in your statue, those can react with oxygen because there's oxygen in the air. If you're dealing with a metal statue, a metal statue at you, then that can, if you're dealing with a metal statue, that can lead to oxidation with oxygen in the atmosphere. Like more specifically, if you're dealing with iron, you're going to see rusting occur. So your iron is going to react and form Fe2O3. So Fe plus 3O2 yields 2Fe2O3. If you're interacting with if you're interacting with acid rain, then your rain may contain sulfur dioxide, which sulfur dioxide can act with NO2 and form sulfuric acid. That's what creates acid rain. This sulfate may react with metals that are in the sample of your sculpture, and that can lead to precipitation. it can lead to, or specifically, you can say it leads to corrosion. So you can even see this in the figure 18.9. You can see damage from acid rain. It shows the statue's lost details in carvings. So, like for example, let's say you're dealing with limestone. Limestone can be produced as can decompose into lime, which is calcium oxide and CO2. Calcium oxide can react with SO2 to form calcium sulfite. Right, so if you have this calcium so if you're using lime in your statue, that can, like, let me just draw this here. So if you have lime in your statue, it can produce calcium sulfite salt. That's going to cause corrosion because you're changing the structure of your sculpture. You're creating more of a salt, so it's going to weaken the integrity of your sculpture. And these are a few examples. And these are a few examples of processes, but more specifically, acids tend to react with metals. So if you metals broadly, so things like marble, limestone, any kind of like generic metal, like bronze would be a good example. These are actually going to not be great for acid rain because as they tend to react very well with acid.